So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are on time. We are going to the next speaker, Mr. Sachin. Uh, Good afternoon,
Good
Sachin.
afternoon.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Good, doing good, doing good.
So welcome to the
Thank you
session.
so much.
It's a Ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand to Sachin Chaurasia, and let me introduce Sachin. Today we are going to talk about Sachin is going to talk about compliance to competence in achieving operational excellence in pharma industry. So Sachin Chaurasia is seasoned business excellence and operational transformation leader with extensive experience in pharma industry. Currently serving as a DGM in Loop LMS, Loop in
Manufacturing.
manufacturing systems, and he also spent a lot of time in other very reputed organizations like Heikel, Biocon, and Pfizer, and Sachin is passionate about driving operational excellence, strengthening quality, and enabling sustainable business transformations across manufacturing operations. So, welcome, Sachinji. Look forward to hear from you your experience in pharma. Thank you very much and enjoy your lecture.
Thank you so much. So, thank you for inviting me in the session. So, share my screen. So, I hope
Yeah, we can.
my screen
Yeah,
is
we can.
visible.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So, as Abdulji has already explained, this is a session about we talk about a lot in pharma about compliance. So here I'll be speaking about how to go about from compliance to the next level and to achieve competence, and is there any way further with which we can achieve the operational excellence. And Currently I'm in API and CDMO domain, so I have worked in pharma as well as in non-pharma. But I have worked on all aspects related to like quality maturity, world-class operations, talking about Lean Six Sigma, TQM, WCM, loss elimination. We were talking about in previous session, Mr. Faisal, about industrial engineering, digital transformations, where in pharma about PAT, Pharma 4.0, and digital decision intelligence, and the important piece of process capabilities. I'll be speaking about it. So before I just start the conversation, so let me start it with a story. So 10 years back, pharmaceutical manufacturing leaders were celebrating their successful inspections. The regulatory audit was ended. There were no observations, no warning letters, no critical findings. Everyone congratulated each other. Management declared it as a success. Plant was compliant. But 6 months later, in the same unit, we found deviations were increasing. Productivity was stagnant. Technology transfers were taking too long. Costs were rising. And teams were solving the same problems repeatedly. So that was a caution. But actually, we were successfully doing the compliance, right? So the question arises, how many of us have worked in organization where we passed every audit, but still we struggle with productivity, tech transfer, deviations, changeovers, cost competitiveness, or employee engagement? Especially when I'm working in API and CDMO domain. So especially API market is very cost competitive, and these challenges are quite visible to us. And these are the areas where, as an operational excellence team, we have seen that we have to work a lot in this. So the question arises, what is happening there? So the organization has achieved something important by this success, but that is not enough. What they have achieved? They have earned the license to operate. Successful regulatory inspections, gives you a license, yes, you can operate, but we have not built the ability to compete. So in this story, they have not built the ability to compete, and that's why there are problems. So the turning point or the purpose of this story was the question emerged: what if compliance is not the destination? What if compliance is the only entry ticket to the excellence? And that question will change everything. And once we understand this, the focus will shift from, okay, I passed the audit, but today I need to build the capabilities. I'm following the SOPs, but I need to understand the processes. I'm reacting to deviations, but I need to predict my risk. I am having some individual expertise, but I need the organizational learning. I have compliance metrics, but I need to look into the business outcomes as well in the actions. Gives me permission. Competence creates the performance, and the excellence creates the sustainability, and that will give a sustainable advantage. So the uncomfortable truth is passing audits is not the same as winning the trust of our customers. So the day we realize that compliance is not enough, if we are celebrating the success of regulatory audit, so it means that we have just earned the license to operate. It felt like a success, but the reality is, even after that, after the compliance, you will find that we have deviations which are repeating. We have tech transfers which are getting delayed. We have yield variability that is persisting. And we have cost of quality that is rising. Why? Because we are not yet build the capabilities or abilities to compete. So, how to go about? So, we have to move on to a transformational pathway from license to operate to the ability to win. And we start. So, yes, compliance is the basic baseline requirement, because without this, we do not get the license to operate. So, we need the license to operate. So, we have to do the things right. But as a next step, we have to go on building the capabilities. We should know why it works, how it works. We have to understand and stabilize the processes and the capabilities, and then we have to go about building competence. We have to go for predicting and preventing the things, build a repeatable performances, which also captured in the previous session very nicely. And then we have to go to the journey of excellence, where we will learn, integrate, and lead together in collaboration, and we win sustainably. So, the motto here is the compliance is foundation, competence is the journey, excellence is the outcome. So, if the audit agenda will disappear tomorrow, we have to ask a question: would my operating system still deliver the world class performance? And if not, then how to go about it? So I need to go for a journey from compliance to competence to excellence to sustainable advantage. So how do I go about it? So I need to have a roadmap. So I need to start with first a value stream. We have to choose one value stream, most important for us. Then we have to quantify one hidden loss, and then we have to connect this loss to one capability gap, and then we have to build in next 90 days repeatable capabilities, eliminate that recurring loss, verify the quality and the business value of it, and then in next 24 months we should scale what is working for us, what is the one best way, make competence visible, create sustainable advantage. So that is the way we should do. And then actually what happens, many sites in pharma, when I talk about the API industry and CDMO context, They are excellent in documenting problems, but we are not yet excellent in preventing the recurrence. We have qualities issues where repeat deviations, kappa closure over the effectiveness. We have flow issues, long cycle times, queues, waiting for approvals. We have cost issues, we have lead losses, solvent or energy intensity, and hidden factory losses. We have growth issues, slow track transfers, weak customer transparency. So we have to go from inspection readiness to process reliability to customer confidence, and that will allow us to have in CDMO growth. There is a huge potential, but we need to go a long journey ahead. So the questions to the audience is, what would a customer see if the audit agenda disappears? So they will see into all these factors. They want us to go from not only just getting a license, getting ready for inspection, but a process, reliable process, confidence to the customer, trust build up, and that will allow us for the growth. So the six level journey pathway to go there. So this is one of the maturity architecture, which says that we have to move in the maturity of the site from initial stage. We could be reactive, we are finding something issues, we are fixing it, so we are in the reactive zone of maturity. Everybody works in that zone. We have to move from that to compliant. Yes, it is important to go to compliant, as I mentioned, to get a license to operate. So we need to follow, we need to have evidence of how what we are following, but we should not limit there. We should go to the next stage of controlling, standardizing, stabilizing the processes, stabilizing the people capabilities, their competences, and standardizing it. And then moving towards the capabilities, how to make the resource capabilities developed, how we can do the prediction, how we can prevent the issues, prevent the concerns, and how that will happen with building the competence. And once we build the competence, then we can go to an integrated system where we can optimize end to end. We can integrate, we can connect, we can make use of digital maturity, and then we can achieve and go to the benchmark level when we call about the excellence or the best in class or world class, where everybody is learning and leading in their own ecosystem or in their function. But at each level, the governance gateway, you cannot miss out in pharma, the patient safety, data integrity, scientific evidences, and management accountability will be the core. So it requires growth mindset, which converts every abnormality into the organization learning. So it is about changing the culture from a fixed or compliance only mindset, which avoid news, protect the functions, close the CAPA on time, depend on experts, reward firefighting. So that is where we get stuck when we say we are compliant. But we need to change that mindset. It surfaces out and we accept that yes, there are some issues. It solves across functions, not only just in the silo. We avoid this silo mindset and we are ready to work together and solve things across functions. Verify the effectiveness, build problem solvers, and reward the prevention, not the firefighting part of it. And this will allow us to go to the journey of leader standard work. So this leader stand work is one of the very important piece for cultural development, where a leader goes to Gamba, ask before telling, and then separate person from recognize this their learning, and he ask before who made the error. He will use what did the process teach us, where my process goes wrong, and not the people. So this is the mindset where we not pointing out the person, but we are focusing on the processes and learning from the processes and recognizing that those learnings are missing, and then that is where we need the competence to build. So there is one quality maturity model which is already mentioned by USFDA, and it's there supporting the ICH-Q10 guidelines also, which talks about the quality maturity, where it is about the integrating patient, process, and business outcome. So a mature PQS talks about the quality culture where there is a speak up culture. People are not having any fear to speak up. They are open, talking about the issues, talking about the losses, taking the ownership, and they are patient focused. They give customer centricity as the priority. They focus on digital and data. They know the data integrity. They understand and they follow the data integrity. They follow the visibility. There is a visibility of data. There is a decision intelligence which is being adopted. There is a improvement system where we are prioritizing the portfolios, benefits, the sustainments of those portfolios, process performance, building the capabilities, creating a control system, and the knowledge transfer. Also the business continuity aspects where we talk about the reliability, resilience, and shortage prevention. So the board level outcome here is a reliable supply is a quality result and a commercial promise. So we should all look into both our leading and lagging indicator, and we have to move from kappa close to risk demonstrably reduced. So where we not only look into our lagging indicators but also to the weak signals, closure, critical skill coverages, control strategy health, and improvement velocity. So the my point here is to make is the regulatory expectations are also evolving and getting matured, and we have seen in recent 2 to 3 years that these expectations are also being included, and these are coming in the form of a observations where regulatories are expecting to improve, moving from the lagging towards the leading indicators, moving, thinking about the quality maturity model and works for that holistically to make a mature system. Additionally, we can make use of very similar to this. We can use EFQM. This is the European Foundation for Quality Management. This is one of the uh, one of the framework used in Europe. So this framework can help in building a excellence of architecture or excellence framework in any industry in Europe. Similarly, the global excellence management. So there is a GEM council. So that council has determined the excellence framework across the globe. So every country have their own excellence framework which are being used, which are being adopted by many industry across the globe. So in India, it is CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, uh, uh, Institute of Quality, CII-IQ. They are the body who are helping Indian industry in towards their journey to excellence, and they are making use of this similar to EFQM model, which is used for building a excellence framework and achieving the sustainable advantage to the organization. So what it does, it connects the purpose, the execution, and the results. So it will tell us about the why in terms of the direction, how in terms of the execution, and what in terms of the results. So where this is talking about the enabler and the processes and the results. So where it talks about in terms of direction from leadership. So leadership will determine the purpose, the vision, the strategy, the culture, or the leadership. So this is the first part of what piece of it which is there in EFQM model. The second piece talks about the execution of stakeholders, talking about the quality excellence, talking about the R&D excellence. We can talk about the engineering excellence, production excellence, marketing excellence, HR excellence, and finance excellence, and so on, EHS excellence, etc. and generating the sustainable value in their own ecosystem, thinking about the performance and transforming in within their ecosystem through their execution, so achieving excellence in each ecosystem, each excellence framework or each pillar of that execution. And then looking into the results in terms of what is the stakeholder perception, customer centricity, strategic and operating results. And so that will be the governing principle of EFQM, which is also there in CII excellence framework. So that also can be adopted now in the industry. And it follows the radar discipline, where R stands for the results required, A stands for the approach, what is designed, D stands for the deploy systematically, and AR represent the assess and refine. So it's a radar discipline which is being used to evaluate and do the self assessment, and then companies are like participating in this business excellence framework nowadays. In my experience, a lot of companies where I worked, they are talking about production system. So like Pfizer used to have their phone Pfizer production system, back on used to have their back on production system. So now this production system concept is very aligned to this EFQM framework. And so the application is like, first companies go for self assessment to just see that where is their baseline, where they are, and then they prioritize their themes, which themes are important critical piece for them, and then they will go for the cross functional breakthroughs using this approach, this framework. And then they will generate some external learnings also, so that learnings are not only coming from the same industry but from across industries also, how learnings can be taken, technological advancements can be done. So this model prevents the tool islands. So because people thinking is operational excellence is just a toolbox or tool island, but it prevents them by thinking from that to forcing line of sight from strategy to stakeholder results, so people can see a direct connect and direct value from the framework. And while we are talking about these frameworks, so it is also centered around the competency, and this competency must be demonstrated at the value of point of value creation. So when we are talking about the all aspects of leadership processes, then we should talk about the skill set. So when we look into the uh, pharma piece, so GMP and data integrity, process equipment science, PAT, process analytical technology and statistical thinking, RCA, problem solving, lean or loss elimination, coaching and change are the key skills. And then when it comes from operator to a shift lead to an engineer to a manager, they need a certain proficiency scale, which is required to start with competence building. So we have to look into the current level of competency, and then we have to develop their competency based on the requirement of the skill for a particular role. And this critical role is also important. We have to define these, which are the roles which are critical, and then this critical role coverages should be more than either two or more than two. Quarterly reassessment evidence should be with observation and plus the output. So we should not only look into the observation, or we should not look into only the output, we should look both together to make evidence of this governance process. So where we talk about the first level of competency as aware, so first people should be aware about their skills, what is important for their role. Then they should go for perform with support, so they should be able to perform with some expertise or some expert who can guide them to perform it. And then they should be able to perform independently as part of their competency framework. And then fourth comes coaching and improvement. So that is how it should go about. So the development ratio of competency should be 70%, they should be doing with workplace application, 20% it should be learned through coaching, and 10% through formal learning platforms. So building capability as a closed loop business process should happen. It should not be just an annual training calendar, where it should go with six phase of process, where we first define the roles, outcome and the risk. Then we assess, observe the current proficiency, define the baseline. Then we develop practice the skills or the competence on real work. Then we certify, certify by demonstrating independently, so certification should be based on the demonstration. And the deployment based on the cross skill learning, so it's not only the same department, it should be a cross learning, cross skill learning, and the coaching aspects of it. And then we should refresh, we should learn from the changes, we should learn from best practices. So example use case is like in API industry, new hydrogenation campaign is there, so we should certify response to temperature excursion, pressure trend, and catalyst handling. So that capability has to be built. In CDMO use case, tech transfer teams uses common skill standards for their scale ups, risk review, client communication. Maybe these standards, common skill standards, are sometimes found missing, so which can be built in the leadership use case. The succession plan, movement or attrition, and the capacity plans should include the critical capability coverage. So what are the critical capability, and for those critical capabilities, what is our the coverage of where are we, and not thinking just about the headcounts per se. So the outcome metric should be the fewer expert only decision, faster, stable performance after the change. So that way the capabilities should be built. So one of the important model there is the grow coaching model, which talks about the goal, reality, options, and way forward. So this model is about coach the thinking, govern the risk, verify the outcomes. So in using this very beautiful concept, leader can go to the Gamba, and then he can work around. So how one scenario is like in the API dryer cycle, it sometimes we found that it is repeatedly getting delayed. So coach should resist telling the answer. Actually, he should allow using this model, after knowing the goal and realities, that what options. So it should allow team to study the endpoints, study the loading, do the RCA, do the loss analysis, understand their vacuum and sampling delays, and then they should prescribe that what can we test or how we should go about it, and then accordingly the way forward should come. So the coaching questions that when leader will ask is like in goal, what is your target and patient or customer impact for this particular issue? What is the reality, what is the time lost for this drive cycle? What are the safe experiments we should do, and what is the way forward, who should own it, date and measure. So that way the ownership transfers from a leader to the team takes the ownership, the hypothesis becomes visible because now it is running by team with data and information. Experiment respect the change control, because team is doing it, and learning enters the standard work, and that is how we can standardize this. So this is very good tool for alignment, improvement, and expansion, and learning together with team. There is another good piece, is like pat, process analytical technology, so that where we can move from quality upstream, from sampling and waiting to sensing and controlling. So the traditional loop is we look into the processes, sample, lab queue results, and then we take action. But if we use a pat enabled loop, so we pat enabled tools can sense, can model, can predict, and then can control. In API use case, we can go with NIR, near infrared spectroscopy, or Raman, for reaction monitoring, so where it will be installed in the reactor and it will help us to understand the what's happening in the reaction, how much reaction is completed, or what is the morphology of it. And we can understand the different parameters of a reaction in real time, where otherwise we have a dependency on the results, and then we have to wait for the reaction monitoring results after the completion of the process, which can be made in real time using the pat enabled tools. Spectroscopy for raw metal identity. So sometimes we have to wait for raw metals which are coming to the plant, then it is being tested by QC. So we need to just perform the testing to confirm that the material which is came, whether it is the same material or is there any kind of cross contamination, so which can be done very faster way if using this spectroscopy, Raman technique, etc., which will reduce lot of time for inspection. Another technique for crystallization. Crystallization is one of the important operation where focus beam reflectance measurement or particle vision and measurement together can be used in crystallization, where it will allow us to know the morphology, allow us to understand the particle size distribution, and there are a lot of issues in the processes in the drying and um, later on in the particle size, a lot of capability issues are observed. So these can be measured in real time with the help of these tools. The moisture endpoint in drying is also one area where LOD results are weighted. So every time after drying, the samples are given, results are awaited, so which can be solved with this moisture endpoint in drying in place. And then one more tool is multivariate process monitoring, which will allow us to monitor the process in real time, the parameters. So there are multiple parameters, more than 10 to 15 or sometimes 20 parameters, for which generally we take the data first, and then we do the reactive analysis, and then we do the multivariate process monitoring. But by that time, we have to wait for at least 30 to 35 batches, sometimes some minimum 30 batches for any process monitoring or evaluation. So where if this is possible to do, this will allow us to do it in real time using the process monitoring technique. The value creation, it will allow us earlier abnormality detection, fewer samples and cues, consistent impurity profile, and then faster scale up learning. So it's not a project. PAT is not an instrument project. It's a process understanding and control strategy program. So the non-negotiable for using PAT is you cannot avoid process understanding. We need to have a process understanding for sure. It will help us in like model lifecycle governance, data integrity and calibrations are must, fail safe control strategy are must, and change control discipline is a must when we are making use of this PAT. So there is one more digital maturity case is SIRI framework, which is nothing but Smart Industry Readiness Index. So which is talking about the process, technology, people, and organization, and it has some three building blocks, 8 pillars, 16 dimension, and six maturity bands. So this framework's talking about how we can become visible to connected to intelligent and to adaptive. So there are some aspects already being covered in previous sessions. So this framework will have some lighthouse network. So World Economic Forum lighthouse network is something like where there are 238 organizations as of now, which are this global lighthouse network. So this framework are being globally adopted, and many companies nowadays are using this SIRI framework to build the digital maturity in their organization. So this is also a very good framework to adopt in pharma. The real world signals advanced manufacturing, which has created already benefit using these three frameworks. Johnson and Johnson made use of continuous manufacturing, which has lowered their operating cost, waste, shorter manufacturing testing cycle. Roche has also achieved the advanced digital lighthouse for scale digital and AI solution, and they but do it by simplifying the process, etc. And AstraZeneca also has recognized followed the scale use of real-time visibility analytics and paperless solutions. So the message here is this framework is good, SIRI framework is good. We can make use of the framework, but do not copy the technology, copy the transformation logic, adapt it to the product process and the risk. Another framework which is very common is total quality management. So where this system is for everybody every day, and the API deployment team is right first time campaign as a cross functional policy deployment priority, where it talks about customer, process, people, facts, leadership. So using this TQM framework, we can run our daily and monthly processes, where daily meetings, abnormality management, standard work, small group kaizens, quality circles will run, and then monthly there will be quality councils, COPQ, and recurrence, customer insights, and breakthrough portfolios will be covered. So this will make quality the operating language for the enterprise and not for the department. So that way, through using TQM, it can run as at an enterprise level, so which is suitable for pharma context to go with TQM framework. Another framework is world class manufacturing framework, where it converts losses into visible, prioritized, and owned improvement agenda, where it talks about the safety with zero harm, quality, zero defect, focus improvement on chronic losses, autonomous care on basic condition of equipment, plant maintenance, reliability, people skills, people capability, early management of equipments and product in the design stage, cost deployment to generate the value. So where loss cost metrics, where we look into the yield, solvents, breakdown, utilities, waiting, approvals, deviations, reworks in the process, asset flow, quality side. One of the piece in API example is filtration bottleneck. So how it can be addressed is by restoring the basic conditions, stratify losses by product or shift, analyzing cake resistance and equipment conditions, and then we can standardize the setup, monitor the cycle time and yield, and then replicate the learning. So that could be very much used in API context very well. Uh, so the focus of this world class manufacturing will be on the loss elimination, where focus will be to make the hidden factory visible. So there will be lot of hidden factors, losses will be there, but only we see the visible part. This will allow us to go with one loss tree, one truth, one team, where we identify the business gap using value stream, going to the process step level, going to the loss mode level, then following the casual mechanism to generate the countermeasure and measuring the effectiveness. And it focuses on flow, quality, asset, material, people, and customer. So the rule is no improvement project without a quantified loss, baseline, owner, and sustainable measures. So this is how this world-class manufacturing framework makes relevance for pharma industry. And the growth strategy for CDMO readiness is the trust system, so which is built on the six repeatable capabilities. So the focus when we are talking about compliance to competence to excellence, so the capabilities where we need to focus is the science, the process understanding, and the quality, the transfer, the fast risk based scale ups, the reliability, the quality, delivery, continuity, the transparency, data governance, communication, the agility, change, multi product flexibility, and the value competitive cycle life cycle economic. So we have to move from compliance to capabilities to reliabilities to innovation, and then the success mantra for readiness is based on these six capabilities to look into. The customer evidence pack is around tech transfer performance, control strategy, health, capability coverage, improvement velocity, and the continuity risk. So this will make us India is ready for CDMO. So where currently API and CDMO industries are looking into. So the 24 months transformation framework, which will prove the value, build the system, and scale the capability, should be done such a way that first 3 months it should diagnose the current maturity, where are we, which level we are. Then we should go with the loss baseline, select the lighthouse value stream, leadership alignment to be done, and then we should go for proving with daily management skill metrics, grow framework, and we should go with some 2 to 3 breakthrough use case, and then we should go for systemizing the things using the EFQM, CII, self-assessment, TQM, WCM governance framework, which are suitable, and PAT and digital architecture to bring value in the system. And then we should go for scaling by replicating the playbooks, customer evidence pack, external benchmark readiness. So and the framework of this should govern by, like, there should be a governance structure at the level of CEO or site head sponsorship, value stream owners, and OE integration office level. It should be results should be measured through balance scorecard, focusing on patient quality, customer, people, process, financials, and the review cadence should be around the daily control, monthly value creation, quarterly maturity, and the strategy. So we should start narrow enough so that we can learn it in the initial stage, and then we should go for designing broadly enough to scale it. So that's the mantra for execution roadmap when we talk about the transformation. So India can win the CDMO future by making competence visible and repeatable, moving from compliance to competence to the excellence in the next 2 years, where the focus is one team, one system, and one excellence brand. That's it. That's it from my
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
So I'm
Fantastic.
open to
Yeah.
any question.
Yeah. Very
Very
interesting.
interesting.
Uh,
Uh,
so,
so,
let me.
let me.
There is some echo
There is
coming from
some
my
echo
side.
coming
Okay.
from my side. Okay.
Is it from your side,
Is it from?
Sachinji, or my side?
Maybe, probably, hearing
Yeah.
some echo also here.
Okay. Now there is no echo, right? Okay. Compliance to competence to excellence. Excellent. I think this itself, the presentation needs a 1 day program actually. So you covered so
Because we
many,
covered
yeah,
frameworks. Yeah.
frameworks, and also you covered that the 24-month view, how to do that. There are a couple of questions. Okay, so when you see as an India, as a pharma industry, where do we stand? Like, what is the percentage of the organization's needs operational excellence in out of 0 to 10? Where do we stand now for the operational excellence, and how can we achieve in next 2 years? What is your
So
prediction, Sachin?
So I would say कि in this pharma industry, formulations are doing good about it. But let me talk about the domain where I am in, the API part of it, and the next booming part of it is the CDMO domain where the growth prospects everyone is
Mm-hmm.
seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look into current situation in India, we are in the API generics where the margins are already shrinking. The current situation is very difficult
Mm-hmm.
in terms of managing the uh, pricing pressure and competing in the market. So in that context, the main reason behind is we are still in the compliant stage. We are either in the first phase of the maturity or in the second phase where we are just want to achieve the compliance, but we are
Mm-hmm.
not thinking beyond there. So I can say the 99% of the industry in APIs in India, we are not there. We are not close to, we are not even thinking about operational excellence. We have just started that ki
Got it.
yes, to get into CDMO.
Mm-hmm.
API generic strategy was different. It was very much focused on the cost aspect. So everybody in operational excellence thinking that they work only for the cost aspect. But now when we go into the CDMO, where we are talking about the trust factor, we are trying to build the relationship and connect with the customers, global customers. So it is not possible to be compliant. It has to go from compliant
Mm-hmm.
to, we have to
Yeah.
show that ki, yes, we are ready to be competent, we have a growth mindset, and then we want to go to the excellence
Yeah.
part of it.
CDMO is the way forward for India. Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes.
look, there are two questions. We are running out of time. Okay. So, let us take up these two questions. Purvik, Parik. One audit mentioned is to operate, i.e., compliance. However, it is observed that the excellence program too nowadays being driven by audits for awards and not fully sustainable. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, so very good question. As I said, so again, what is my mindset? It matters. Is my mindset is only to showcase? Is my mindset is to be compliant? To showcase that to our CDMO players
Hmm.
that we are doing something? But the fact is, formulations are far ahead, I would say, compared to APIs and CDMOs. And we are competing, not like CDMO players are not only seeing us, they are also seeing the China and the global CDMO. So when they are moving from other global CDMO players to India, they also demand the uh, their expectation is not just to showcase, their
Not the
expectation is
certificate,
to
not
demonstrate.
just certificate.
So we have
Demonstrate.
to demonstrate these maturity levels. And when I'm talking about these frameworks are known to CDMOs. They know, they ask these questions nowadays, that are you following any framework? Are you following any process? What are you doing in your leadership piece? What are you doing in your processes? And what are you doing about your results? How you are dealing with it? How is your daily executions and
Okay.
processes
It should be in practice, not only the certificate. Okay.
in
So
the,
second
yes.
question, Sachinji, from Faisal Ziauddin. Hi Sachin, wonderful take on OPEX. From my personal experience, fear is not going out anywhere, but instead, organizations are willing to engage employees in value adding projects and a path to trust. Okay.
True, true, true. That is happening. That I am also observing that. And now what is happening? Faisalji also shared this point that we normally the mindset in Indian MNCs are like just to hire an industrial engineer or hire a OE colleague, and he will
Hmm.
take care of the showcase part or that part. Because when you go for a single person thinking that that person is driving, it will only able to showcase. But when it is driven like an organization or a system or where processes everybody is aligned, it will make the real change.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sachin, for a wonderful session.
Thank you so much.
On behalf of participants, uh, uh, give a big hand to Sachin ji for sharing wonderful insights. We need to know more about it. Yeah, sometime during next time, maybe we can have a comfortable time for this program. So, thank you,
Yeah, I
Sachin
will be
ji. Thank
happy.
you very much for a wonderful session. I enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you.